Destinations where nature shows its most hostile and merciless face, and where traveling becomes a high-risk activity, if not an unfortunate idea that can endanger your life. Would you dare to visit these places? What could be wrong with a floaty deserted island off the coast of Sao Paulo? Nothing less than the massive presence of one of the world's most venomous snakes, which has made its home. The burnt island viper, Bothrops unsuralis, is an endangered species, as it can only be found in the idyllic enclave 30 kilometers from the coast. But there they are, the undisputed queens. Some estimate that there are about 4,000 of them on an island that is barely 1.5 meters long and 500 meters wide. That's a lot. Furthermore, due to the immense variety of deadly snakes that naturally inhabited Queimada Grand Island, the local authorities have decided to strictly limit human access. This is because the local species are even more venomous than those found on the main island, making them an even greater threat to tourism. These snakes hunt and eat larger migratory birds. The birds on the island already know the snake's lethality, so they have learned to anticipate the attacks in order to escape. As they have been forced to feed on larger animals, their venom has naturally become more deadly. Who can enter? No one. Ready. Only poachers in the area venture into the dense jungle to obtain specific specimens, for which they charge close to $30,000. However, the Brazilian state has gone to great lengths to prevent researchers, explorers and tourists from entering the depths of Koba Island. It is well known that fishermen in the area spread legends that frighten locals and foreigners alike. The most famous one tells the story of an entire family that lost their lives when they landed on the island. Another legend says that it was pirates from the high seas who filled the place with snakes to protect a multi-million-dollar treasure they had stashed there. As a curious fact, the only inhabitant of the island was a lighthouse keeper, who lived on the island until the first decade of the 20th century and was later replaced by an automatic mechanism. The island of Dominica, in the heart of the Caribbean, is a top vacation destination and a true tourist paradise. But just over 10 kilometers from the capital, Roseau, hides an unusual natural phenomenon. The so-called boiling lake literally lives up to its name because its water reaches very high temperatures. This heat creates a unique cloud of steam that gives the whole thing a very special body. Of course, do not step in to see how the water is. To know a little more about Boiling Lake, it is worth mentioning that it measures 60 meters wide by 60 meters long and has an average depth of 59 meters, although in some periods it has decreased and increased its water level. The temperature of the water in the lake reaches 92 degrees Celsius, enough to cook food. This concentration of heat creates a permanent layer of steam over the water. Another striking feature of Boiling Lake is the color of its water. The bluish-gray hue is caused by the minerals and volcanic elements it contains. According to scientists, the lake is part of a fissure that allows the gases produced by the hot lava beneath the earth to escape, similar to geysers, hot springs that emit columns of steam and hot water to the surface. There is a place on Earth where survival is almost impossible, in the desert of Danakil, Ethiopia, with a colorful landscape as attractive as it is dangerous. Between hyperacid springs, toxic air and extremely hot environment, three tectonic plates converge in this place, a place that can boast of being one of the most inhospitable on Earth. For starters, it is the hottest in terms of average temperatures, as well as one of the driest. In fact, it offers a very hostile scenario for living things. It is home to a geography that seems to come from another planet. It dazzles and frightens us at the same time. It has multicolored fiery springs and sulfur formations that gush out of the earth, leaving an unbreathable air, which together create a real hell on earth where practically no one can stay. In particular, the Ethiopian Danakil depression extends over a salt-filled volcanic crater with a large exhalation of toxic gases and boiling hydrothermal activity called dalol, which means dissolution or disintegration. The high salinity index, toxic gases and constant volcanic activity make life here literally impossible, except for a few microorganisms that have captured the interest of the scientific community for decades. With more than 17 million square kilometers, Russia is by far the largest country on the planet. And in this vast geography, it naturally has hostile places like few others. Oymyakon is one of the worst. The cold there is much more intense than you can imagine, with temperatures easily dropping to minus 14 degrees Celsius. In fact, the lowest temperature ever recorded was minus 71 degrees Celsius in 1926. These conditions make it impossible to grow anything, which translates into a very problematic lack of food for its inhabitants. Because yes, there are those who live there. Specifically, 462 brave people who live in the coldest inhabited place in the world. In Oymyakon, even the midday sun is not enough to warm people in winter. In eastern Siberia, the coldest region of Russia, the low temperatures typical of this village freeze the tears and eyelashes of its inhabitants. During the harshest winter months, Oymyakon residents have to be very careful even with toilet paper. If their homes are not kept at the right temperature, even this basic hygiene item freezes completely, residents say. To prevent car engines from becoming unusable, residents have had to adapt rooms with special heaters. At minus 20 degrees Celsius, the earth of the vehicle stops. Therefore, they have to be protected in an artificially controlled environment, as well as household appliances and other tools of daily use. Despite the extreme weather, Oymyakon attracts a considerable amount of tourism to this frozen region of Russia. In the surrounding area, where cemeteries would normally be located in other parts of the country, villagers cannot dig graves because the ground has been frozen solid by ice. In fact, when someone dies, they must first build a bonfire to melt the ice before digging with a pick and shovel. In the Karakum Desert, in the former Soviet Republic of Turkmenistan, is a place whose name speaks for itself. The Door of Hell is actually a 70-meter wide, 20-meter deep crater of uncertain origin, though many place it is an unsuccessful Soviet-era survey. Its peculiarity, it has been burning continuously since the 1970s due to the methane gas emanating from the cavity. It was the geologists themselves who decided to set it on fire to prevent the gases from spreading, thinking that the fire would last only a few weeks. They were wrong. Is it possible to close the door of hell? It is unclear whether there is a viable solution to extinguish the flames of the gates of hell in Turkmenistan. Even those who have descended into the bowels of the crater claim that seemingly logical solutions are useless. The flames on the door of hell in Turkmenistan have been burning for more than half a century. In that time, according to local authorities, the crater has recently become a threat to human health and the environment, especially because of the constant emission of methane and other gases harmful to the atmosphere. Just as the Soviets once drilled into the desert to extract natural gas, the door of hell may now be draining into the Turkmenistan's ozone. Rugged, remote and treacherous. The rocky island off the west coast of Ireland is one of the most dangerous tourist destinations in the world. home to 600 jagged steps leading to ancient monasteries, getting to the site of scaling Michael Mountain is a challenge as tourists must take an hour-long boat ride through turbulent waters, and in many cases, boats can't even dock due to high tides. While tourism is on the rise after this location was featured in Star Wars, The Force Awakens. The government has become cautious due to rockfalls, adverse weather conditions, and safety issues on the island. Only 4 boat licenses are issued each year, and only a limited number of tourists are allowed to visit scaling Michael Mountain. To finish with this last place, have you ever heard of a jungle paradise? The Madidi National Park in Bolivia is a good example, boasting the world's richest biodiversity and home to the world's most poisonous wildlife. This national park is definitely one of the most dangerous places for tourists. What makes this place so dangerous? Well, coming in contact with any of the plants growing in this park can cause severe itching, rashes and dizziness. Any small cut or even a small wound can become infected with tropical parasites. If you plan to visit this Arizona beauty, be sure to take a guided tour with professionals and well-trained hikers. It is not a game. Thanks for watching this video and see you next week on this same channel. Bye bye!